fellas, welcome back to Missin Curfew. A guy I would have loved to play with. I fucking hated playing against him. I respected him as hell. I was always like, I wish this guy could be on my squad. You had to keep your head up when this guy was on the ice, although you'd probably hear him before you saw him because he'd be fucking barking at you or drooling at you on the forecheck. But Cam Janssen, Janny, thank you for taking the time to join Missin Curfew, beauty.
What's up, guys? Good to talk to you, man.
Yeah, hey, listen, by the way, I love everything you're doing after hockey with the podcast. Cam and Strick, you guys are great. You keep it real. I love that you got a big chew in for pretty much every clip I see. I'm like, that a boy, Janny, don't ever change.
Dude, well, I mean, eventually I'm probably going to have to quit, Sometimes I wake up and I look at my lip and I'm like, oh, Lord. I'm like, so I'm going to have to, again, figure some things out. But, and not to mention, my wife, still has to deal with that. I spill it all over the place. The dogs will knock it down when people are over. So I probably have to quit that, as well as maybe a couple other things too.
So you still got the spitters lying around. You still got the spitters. You got any spitters in your car right now? You think there's a spitter in your car?
Is there a spitter in my car? Oh God, yeah. Oh God, yeah. They're laying around everywhere. It's disgusting. I got to clean them up, and then we keep all the bottles for me underneath the sink. So I grab one. It's a whole thing.
Oh, you're a beauty. Richie, lead us off.
That's great. Yeah, Claudia, it's so good to see you. It's been a long time. Knew you kind of as an early kid back in the day, so this is good to have you. But want to start back in the junior days, and you started off in Windsor, and coming in as a guest team, that was an intimidating barn to come in, especially when you were playing there. So you had fans throwing stuff at you from that little shelf up there. Just give me your impressions on you playing there and coming across the border.
Well, being from Eureka, Missouri, growing up in Missouri, playing hockey, like we didn't really know about the OHL. Like we heard people talk about it, but once you play in AAA, everything happened so fast for me, man. I started hockey when I was 11 years old, basically. I started roller hockey when I was 10, and then I played house league and then Chesterfield AA and then AAA. And then once you play AAA, man, you're getting scouted all over the place. We're playing up there, getting our asses kicked in the Michigan National Hockey League against CompuWare, Honey Baked, and whatnot. Now these kids these days go up there and they're winning those tournaments. That wasn't the case for us. So I remember being in Canada in some tournaments and stuff like that, but me and my parents, we didn't really know too much about the OHL, but everybody's kept saying, hey, Cam, you're going to get drafted in the O. My agent told me, like, we're going to have to go to Mississauga and sit in for this draft. And we sat in for it, and I remember sitting next to Dustin Brown, because we had the same agent, and got drafted 3rd round. And I'm like, okay, and I'm guessing I'm going to have to move to Canada. None of my buddies had no idea what the hell it was. None of my buddies growing up played hockey. So I'm like living 2 different lives. I had to come back home and show them all these different, girls would drop off all this stuff. I'm like, dude, I'm telling you, I'm really popular in Windsor, guys. They're like, yeah, whatever, dude. Until I took them up there and I showed them that good time. But man, just living with a billet for the first time. I played juniors a year in St. Louis for the St. Louis Sting. So I was living in my house. My dad would have to drop me off of the game because I don't even think I had my license yet. Fighting everybody in the league. I wore a bandana underneath my helmet in the North American Hockey League with skulls on it just to look tough because I was the youngest kid on the team fighting everybody. But going up there and living with a family, that was difficult. My parents were lenient as shit, man. I had an older brother. We did what we wanted. We'd go out, run around the neighborhood in the middle of the woods at night. Freedom. We had freedom. Now I'm living with 75-year-old couple in Windsor, and they are like OCD. If I leave my shoes the wrong way, they're like, Cam, you got to move that. I'm like, oh, God. So that was a little tough. And then they all become fans of yours. So it was a little difficult to adjust to that at the beginning. But it was, what a blast. What a cool town. What a cool barn to play in. And that first game you go out there and you fucking catch a couple guys with their head down, baby. And you certainly do. Toe to toe. The fans will love you forever.
Yeah. Listen, I would use a lot of words for that rink. Cool wouldn't be one of them. Fucking dangerous. Fucking yard sale. The fucking car crash, whatever you want to call it. I don't know. I can't come up with a better term right now. But I remember the first time I came in the old Windsor barn. And there you are. You wore 17, right, in Windsor?
Yeah, baby.
There you are, just working the fucking red line. And I'm like, who the fuck is this kid? Like, I heard rumblings about you because I was out east, but I'm like, and you're just staring at everyone. So were you ever intimidated when you came to the Ontario Hockey League? I think I know the answer, but when you came over, were you like, fucking bring it on, I'll fight everyone? Or were you a little bit intimidated when you first came over to the Ontario League?
There's intimidated, no. Nervous as hell, yes.
Yeah.
I was so freaking nervous coming up to Canada, dude. I'm getting dropped off. I'm living with an old couple. I'm going to school, I have to go to a new high school, don't know anybody, don't know any of the team, don't know anybody. And not to mention, I got to go out there and take care of fucking business with all these big shit kicking Canadian boys that want to kill me. And the first day I remember going to Windsor, and this is kind of gross, but this just shows how much pressure I had. I was so nervous that I got a cold sore right before I went to high school, new high school. I have all this pressure on me, and I get this fucking cold sore. I'm good for like one every 5 years. And I get this goddamn thing, and I'm so stupid. I'm so nervous. I take a knife, and I burn the knife, and I go, and I cut it open just to look like someone cut me in practice. And that son of a bitch,
Jesus Christ.
it spread all over my face. And for the first time I went into, Riverside High School, I hit this goddamn mutant lying on the side of my face. There was a fucking, I talk about nerve-wracked. Now, the whole school got it in about 3 weeks later, but that's just what I had. That's how it started.
Whoa. That's how you set your tone around the school right there.
That's how you come into Canada. I don't know if we're going to give you a passport for that.
How was Danny's first 2 weeks? I gave the whole high school cold sores, but other than that, he's doing pretty good.
Pretty good start.
Well, you fought your way out of that. 33 scraps your first year, right? Like, were you just showing up every night, just going, "Fuck, I'm just gonna toe to toe with these guys"? That was your mentality. Was it like that immediately?
Fuck the world, baby.
Yeah.
I was doing that the year before when I was even younger. And I just had this attitude. My parents were really tough. My dad was a badass waterproofer. Saw him in the summertime dragging that freaking hose, dude. 110-degree weather in the middle of Missouri, just going spraying all these foundations with this nasty tar. I'm like, fuck that. And my mom went back to school because, we were struggling for money. Like, we grew up very middle class. So my mom went back to school and she became a nurse at Clayton Jail, which is hardcore too. You're dealing with all kinds of different stuff. So I grew up with very blue collar, but I always fought my brother's buddies. I always wanted to fight. I was picking fights in high school like a jackass. You look back on that and some of the shit I did with some of these high school parties because I wanted to be the man. And you're like, no, you're an idiot. Girls don't even like that unless you're getting paid and you're doing it in front of thousands of people. So I always had that attitude. But getting to Windsor, I'm like, man, this is do or die. Sometimes you're so nervous, dude. You're so nervous. And then once that fucking game starts, you're like, fuck the world. Let's go. I don't give a shit who you are. I'm going, Yeah.
God bless him. I didn't have the same mindset, Jenny, there at Kingston as that, but good for you, fella.
Hey, Jenny, let me ask you, because you're a Spitfire, but what kind of legacy did a guy like Steve Ott leave when you were there shortly after him? But what kind of he leaves, he goes to the NHL at a young player, 18, 19 years old. Was there big shoes to fill for that team at the time when he left? Because it was a big time, obviously personality player.
Played with him.
I played with him.
Yeah.
And I was neighbors with him. And I needed him at that time. He put me in my place. He was the king, Dick. He was a first-round pick. He signs right away for $1 million.
How's it? Same as out, dog.
$1 million. He buys one of those brand new Escalades at the time that no one's even seen.
Sick.
He owns the city. He's from the city. He has people chanting his name everywhere he goes. And I'm like, yeah, baby, this is the real deal. And a couple times Otter, because he was king of the room, I'm getting a little cocky. I'm starting to get attention, and I'm like, ooh, I'm cool too. And he had to put me in my place a couple times. And we joke about it when I see him all the time now. But I needed that, man, because you finally get attention. You got fans coming at you like, wow, it kind of just inflates the surround. He's like, I'm really good because all these fans like me. No, you didn't get the damn puck out of the zone. You got work to do. And I needed a guy like Steve Ott to kind of put me in my place and say, man, you got to work on things. This is just the first step. But I love him, man, and I needed that at the time.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And he was a hell of a player. He had 50 goals and he was putting up, lots of PIMs, eh?
Yeah.
So he was a hell of a
43 goals, 178 PIMs 1 year here. The year I'm looking at 2001, 2002. Not bad for all that.
Hey, Cam, I got to ask you this question and see if you remember this. I was with Scott Norton, too, back in the day. And I want to know if you remember this. He had like a camp in the summer. We all went in, like me, Brown, and a bunch of guys. And we were doing a drill. And I shot a puck and it missed the net and came around and hit you in the face.
Did you kill him?
Tell me we still bad on your side of your face. And you didn't know who did it. Man, I can't remember if I told you I did it or not. You were fucking going crazy. And I was more scared than I've ever been in my life because I heard all the stories about you, like you were the state wrestling champ, and obviously you've got a big presence. You're all jacked up, and I'm a scrawny rat.
No, listen, I remember that. I remember going to those. We had the same agent. He always put these little tournaments on, these camps, and we'd go up there, and everybody's showing off. Everybody's cocky in their own way. Like, this is what I could do. This is what I could do. I'm this, I'm that. And I remember Zach Stortini was up there, though,
Yep.
Richie, and we squared off, and everybody came in like, no, we don't need to fight each other. And I remember just him being kind of like this kind of big guy. And, at that point, I was like, man, these guys they're all big. They all could play. And then you watch some of these guys and they're gripping the puck. I'm like, damn, man, I got work to do. Like, I'm just still getting into hockey. I'm still learning. My parents weren't able to teach me anything. Like, they didn't know. They just watched the Blues, and we became obsessed with hockey because of the Blues. So I was so raw. I had so much work to do, man. And I look back on it now and I'm like, God, there's so many little things I could have done. Like stick handling. I got chirped all the time by my teammates later on in my career because I'd stick handle pucks before practice, like do, and it helped me at practice get the damn puck out of the zone. If I just would have known little things like that just to do extra work, it just would have enhanced my game so much. But yeah, man, I appreciate you not knocking my fucking teeth out.
Well, I did
Hey, hit the fucking net, Richie. Hit the net.
I mean, you know how it was. It hit you, and I did cut you, but you didn't even fucking bat it. You were hurt, or you didn't even go get stitches or anything. But I forgot about you and Stortini trying to go at each other. That was great. But Jerry, is that true that you were state wrestling champ or something like that? Because we all heard all that shit. And we're like, holy fuck, who is this guy?
Hell no.
Okay,
But I did wrestle.
Okay,
And I did wrestle, which helps, man.
yeah.
Like if I had a kid, I would get him into wrestling because it's a one-on-one battle. You're in your singlet, your ding-a-ling's hanging out, there's girls watching. You could get put in a really awkward situation and get embarrassed in front of everybody. And all the toughest guys in the school were the wrestlers. And I'm telling you guys right now, all y'all out there, 95% of fights go on the ground.
Yeah.
And if you don't know how to wrestle, you could be the best boxer in the world. You go against a grappler or some sort of jiu-jitsu cat that's got some cauliflower ears, he's going to embarrass you in front of everybody.
Dude,
That happened to me, by the way, in Windsor, just so everybody knows.
Yeah, it's so true too, man. Like in the UFC, wrestlers are the most dangerous guys. Like they all, no one wants to fuck with the wrestler. And I was rolling with my boy Billy Quinn, and this guy's a welterweight in the fucking UFC, and I'm like, all right, put a little pressure on me, bro. And I'm like, fuck, 285, Jane. He had me in a pretzel, choked out, and the strength of it, man. I'm like, this guy's a welterweight. I couldn't imagine rolling around with guys actually my size. Like the wrestlers are no joke.
Well, those wrestlers, that's how they get in. They'll wrestle, they'll win state, just like Daniel Cormier, and then they learn how to box.
Yeah.
Then they learn how to box, and they learn how to kick, and whatever the case is. But their building process, like their staple of what they are MMA-wise, is a lot of them are just they start wrestling, and then they veer off and learn all the other tools, which there's a shit ton of them, man. Like there's so much into MMA, and I respect those guys so much, dude. My dad dropped me off at Finney's Mixed Martial Arts when I was 16 years old, and he goes up and he's like, it's already paid for. Get out, go in there. These guys are going to take care of you. And it was the most intimidating thing, one of the most intimidating things, walking in there and see all these badass dudes. They were the nicest guys in the world, and that's how I started doing my hockey fight training. Thank you. You got me a beer.
Was that your wife?
Yeah.
Oh, what a good. They're all bringing you a beer, eh? That's nice. What a girl.
He knows I'm working.
What a girl.
A little blue light. Jeez, I might have one with you, Jay.
Yeah, get one in you up, dog. Hey, Jenny, I want to talk to you about your staple, buddy. You know, when I played against you in the OHL and in the American League and in the NHL, like every one of your fights seemed like a fucking marathon, man. And it seemed like you loved it. Like, was that something that you trained for? And was that your mindset of like, I'm going to get these guys in deeper waters and I know that I'll come out on top? Is that something you trained for physically and mentally throughout your career?
Hell yeah, dude. I'm
Yeah.
5'11", baby. I'm 5'11". Now, I'm 250 right now, but I was 210 then, right?
Yeah.
I wasn't big. I needed now in juniors, I just throw. Guys are usually your size. But once you hit that American League, when you got the 6'7" monsters cruising around, tapping at your door, like, what are you going to do? I had to have a style, man. And styles make fighters. And so I learned how to be able to concentrate, get my breath, get corked with one, see black. Now, don't go down. Most people will automatically go down when they get corked. I trained myself to be able to stand up, realize you're in a fight, snap out of it, and keep it going. But yeah, I had to be that way, man. I can't just go up there and go toe to toe with Brian McGrattan.
Right.
He's got a foot on arm's length, and he's going to punch right through me. I got to have a style. I got to counter him. I got to counter some of these big guys, man. Now, if you're my size, we'll go. We'll go. Now I kind of loosen up a little bit and switch on you or whatever the case is. But man, when I had to have a style, I had to have a game plan going against some of these guys, and that was certainly part of it. Take my time, get my grip, eat a couple, and start getting my rhythm in the end. And it usually turned out to be pretty good fights.
Great fights. I don't know if I ever seen you not in a good fucking fight, but like, is there something you could train physically? Like, obviously we all trained hard, but was there something you would train physically? But you mentioned breathing there. Like one thing about fighting is if you can control your breathing, because at the start you're chucking, and 7 seconds in, you're like, I'm fucking gassed. So was it more of a breathing thing for you or stuff you did off the ice, kind of a combo, I guess?
I was definitely training. I mean, we'd go into the boxing gym and just do crazy stuff. And then I would recreate fighting with Patty Maroon and all the Brandon Bolig, all these cool cats that we all grew up playing together. And then we go and we would do play fights, and we'd go for 3 minutes at a time, and we'd have a towel around our neck, and we'd have to switch on each other, and we'd have MMA gloves on, and we're hitting each other. And then we stop doing that, and all of a sudden we got to do blah, 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 blah. Cardio, now you get over there and you do your thing. So like that helped out big time. But man, some of those fights, dude, like, I don't care how good shape you are. I thought I was going to have a heart attack.
I know that.
Like, a lot of times I'm partying the night before, you're doing things, you sleep well. Who knows what's in my system. And then you go for 2.5 minutes, and then I'm sitting in the penalty box like this, like, oh God, like my heart's like, I'm like, I might die in front of everybody.
That's what you call leaving it all in the ice, boys, right there. When you're sitting in the sin bin, you're like, I might go down here. Fuck.
Might be it.
Cam, just jumping in. Well, was there ever a point in your career? Well, two-part question, that you felt like you made it, like your one stop, like in your NHL career, where finally you're like, fucking A, I'm no longer on that iron lung in the minors. Like, I stepped up, I did something for my team. I'm a fucking solid NHLer. And then the later part of this is like, did you ever feel like you didn't have to fight anymore and you were there to like be more than just that enforcer on the squad? Because towards your end of your career, buddy, as scary as you were playing. You were out there and chipping in, and so.
Well, you always have to be able to play.
100%.
And you could tell by people's ignorance is when they're like, oh, all you did was fight. You motherfucker, I had to get that damn puck out of the zone. I couldn't make mistakes. If I made one mistake, I'm sitting the rest of the game. Hell, I might get sent down. I mean, no, you had to be mistake-free. That adds stress. I had to get that damn puck out of the zone. I had to make a play. I had to know exactly what to do. My hits, I had to be able to hit guys right and not get suspended all the damn time, or you're going to get sent down. No, you can't. I had to bring extra elements, but it's certainly getting pucks out of the zone, making plays here and there, or you're not playing in NHL, man. It's just the way it is. But the one time when I knew I made it was with the story, and I know I told the story before, which is god-awful, is when the guys stole my phone and they switched Lou Lamoriello's number with somebody else. And I thought, so I called Lou and I embarrassed myself. And then my parents came into town in Albany, and they're so happy to see me. And I'm like, I'm probably going to sit down on the coast because Lou's not happy with me. Rightfully so. I called him thinking he's one of my teammates at 10 o'clock at night on the night before of a game, wanting to go out and party. He knew exactly what the hell I was doing. I thought I was fucked, and I should have been. And he gave me a second chance. But I remember the time my mom and dad came up. I have all this stress on me, a lot of stress going on. You hear that word a lot with my career. But my parents are in town. And I remember saying this, like, we're watching the Devils game in the hotel, eating pizza, having a beer. And my dad looks at me and says, you're going to get called up. And I'm like, you have no idea. You have no idea. And finally, Robbie Fedor called 2 seconds later and said, hey, Cam, you got called up to the NHL. So my mom and dad were there right when I got called up. I was in Albany, and we played the New York Rangers the next day. So we drive down, we find the hotel where the players are staying in, because the players stayed in a hotel before they played New York. So Louis had them in a hotel, you know what I mean? Like there, just so it's easier, right? Get right to New York. You're away from the family. And I remember walking in, I remember having like sweatpants on, and me and my mom and dad are like, cool. And all the guys are eating. And this is such an older team. And I walk in like, hi guys, I'm here. And no one says anything. And Richard Matvichuk turns around and goes, huh. This is our savior. This- I'm like, what the fuck?
Jesus.
So that game though, I get hit first shift. I get hit by Darius Kasparaitis. Bam! And I'm like, whoa! And I get the puck out of the zone. And I'm like, oh man, I just got embarrassed. I wasn't used to getting hit like that much, you know what I mean? And juniors, guys didn't really go near you. Darius Kasparaitis put me right on my ass first shift. And I went right to the bench, and the guys were like, way to go, way to get that puck out of the zone. And I'm like, oh yeah, okay. Maybe I did make a play there. So what if you got put on your ass? They don't give a shit. You got the puck out of the zone. Next shift, I hit him, caused chaos, and then traveling with them. That's when I knew I could play in this. I could play in this league. And my mom and dad were there to get to see it, man, which is so cool. And they deserve it because I put them through hell. I put them through hell, and they finally got to see me kind of, put it all together and play at MSG was pretty cool for them.
I love how everything comes back to, getting the puck out. That's how it was back in the day. For any tough guy, like Nick Tarnowski under Tortorella, like if Torch turned 2 over in the first, I'm like, Tarno, you got one more. And he turned the third one over, and Torch's like, have a seat. Same thing with Trevor Gillies. All my tough guys, it's like, we got to get that fucking puck out on the wall. That was like the job you had to do. But Jenny, obviously we talk about your fighting, but the thing to me that made you more dangerous was your ability to get on the forecheck. Like for me, guys like Darcy Hordichuk, yourself, like these tough guys that could go toe-to-toe, but could also get on the forecheck and intimidate guys like myself and other defensemen. Like that was a real feather in your cap, and that's why I think you played as long as you did it. Did you take pride on getting on that forecheck?
God, yeah, baby. I loved hits, man.
Yeah.
I was really good at that. Like, am I going to toe drag you? No. Did I have a good shot? No. Could I even backhand? I couldn't even I learned how to sauce pass when I was like 16 years old. Like, I was so far behind. No, I'm dead serious. I was playing junior, and I learned how to soft pass in junior. So I just had so much work to do, but I was always a good hitter, and I was fast. I was a good runner. I'm a sprinter, and I knew how to hit, man, and I was killing guys in AAA, and I learned it's a skill, man. You got to have your timing. You got to have your balance. Like, there's a lot that goes on. You got to hit them right. You can't have your elbow up. You miss them and you fall into the boards 100 miles an hour, you're going to hurt yourself. Like, there's a lot to it. But yeah, dude, if I wasn't able to hit consistently like that, I would have been one and done. See you later. You know what I mean? Yeah, you can fight, whatever. You can go to heavyweights and have a good one. Yeah. What else can you do? Well, I could get in on the forecheck and disrupt and really scare guys.
Third time.
What are you thinking? All these guys, man, the scariest damn thing on the ice, besides the puck, is a guy catching you with your head down.
Oh, yeah.
It's a hitter. Hitters are the scariest damn thing going, baby.
Oh,
so
yeah.
you know he's turned down fights. And nowadays, man, like, okay, grab a guy, you can throw him down, you can hug him, but you can't avoid a hit. OB, you coming around the net, baby, and somebody coming down at you. That's the scariest thing going.
Yeah. Hey, Richie, before you jump in, I know you want to jump in. I would say before we played you, I would say, hey, boys, hold Janny up tonight for fuck's sakes. If you guys don't hold Janny up through the neutral zone or the forward, slow him up before he gets on the forecheck, because I knew you'd be barking at me and drooling at me. I'm like, holy fuck, here he comes, boys. Here he comes. Look out. So you were in my head a lot, brother, not just for fighting, but more for that forecheck. But go ahead, Rich.
No, you're one of those guys that you tagged me a couple times in St. Louis. I think it was once in the playoffs. You fucking got me on the sideboards out of nowhere. You killed me. But anyway, you were kind of like a Rafi Torres guy where you had to know where you're on the ice every time you played. So that was good on you.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to throw it back one more time, and it's this year I always find interesting. I was still in junior. This is my last year of junior. It was the first year you turned pro, that 2004-05 lockout year. And you put up 337 PIMs as a 21-year-old, whatever you were at that age. But was that one of the toughest years you've ever played?
A lot of
kind of like NHL guys that had to come down. There was junior guys. There was a lot of different stuff. And like Obes and Uppy have told me how tough that league was that year. Just your thoughts on that.
That's the toughest league in existence. That 04 lockout.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It was half NHL, half monsters. Yeah,
That's what I mean.
Monsters cruising everywhere, 3 or 4 on each team. I mean, monsters, 6'6", 6'7", tough. And you go from juniors, and like you're 19, you're crushing everybody. There's some tough guys that that keep up with you at the time, and now you're playing against grown ass men that have 4 kids that have that 30-year-old strength with scars all over their face, and you're like, whoa, boy, here we go. Now I'm playing against the real big boys. And yeah, dude, me and Brian McGrattan were going toe-to-toe about, I think, I think I had 47. He had 47 fights that year. And I'm trying to keep up with him. 40 sauce.
That's a ton.
I'm trying to keep up with him with penalty minutes. And that son of a bitch, I know exactly what he did. He'd fight, and at the end of the game, he'd go tell the ref to fuck off and get a 10-minute misconduct. I know exactly what he was doing. He had 550 minutes of penalties that game. But a lot of them were 10s because he just wanted to blow everybody else out of the water. And then he'd go talk to the refs afterwards and be buddies with him. But he got a lot of 10s, and it pissed me off.
I played against you the following year when I was in Portland, and you guys had Alexander Mogilny on your team for a little bit in Albany there. Remember you guys had Mogilny? I came out to watch your morning skate, and he was just, his style was so fucking sick. And then I think you played in the game where Brandon Scroy got a hat trick, right? Did you play in that game?
Mike Scroy?
Mike Scroy, my bad. Mike Scroy. Did you play in that game?
That's my boy. I think so. I think so, because I think he still texts me about that, brags about it. But he's hilarious. Mike Scroy.
Yeah,
great. You brought. Hey, but Elmo, speaking of Alexander McGillney, he was down and out in Jersey, and I'm a young kid. I mean, youngest kid on the team, and they put me, Lou Lamoriello took over and put him on my line, on the fourth line with Victor Kozlov, because they were
unbelievable.
They were older. They weren't living up to their contract, and Lou put him on my line, and I felt so fucking bad for those two. I'm like coming in, I'm dumping to pucks to myself. I have no creativity at all. They never chirped me one time. They could have been like, fuck this kid, I'm out of here anyway. Who cares about this loudmouth young American boy that he's not going to do anything? They were so nice to me, man. Both of those guys, Alexander McGillney and Victor Kozlov. And I know how miserable they were because I'm not an easy guy to play with, especially if you have skill. They never said one negative thing. They were so sweet to me. So I got to give those guys a shout out, man.
That's great.
They'll love that.
They were just probably like, don't take any whistles so we can get into that city tonight and chase some Russians.
Yeah, exactly.
They probably had other things going on.
But dude, Mike Scroy, that guy was a beauty, man. And when he scored the hat trick against us in Albany, he was on the bench crying, man. I was almost like, fuck, this is unbelievable. This guy just scored a hat trick in the American Hockey League, and he was like crying. I'm like, I was choked, we were losing, but I'm like, this is fucking emotional here. This guy, that's how blown away he was, Janny.
Well, he was an emotional guy.
Yeah.
You talk about guys that could beat you up off the ice. He's one of them.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. He trains MMA, dude, hardcore. Like, there's no way I'm athletic enough to kick you in your head, but he's the kind of guy that will just head kick you and knock you out cold. And he's very, very tough, very smart guy.
Yeah.
Very, very smart man. If you ever really talk to him, man, he's a fucking smart, witty human being. And he works his ass off. And he was a good friend of mine. Me and David Clarkson hung out with Mike Scroy. Maybe not everybody kind of saw Scroy the way we did, but Clarky and I certainly did.
Yeah, you know what? I had some nights with Mike Scroy and the trained Trevor Gillies. I had some nights with Scroy. He likes to get after it too. So you mentioned David Clarkson. Fuck, that guy had long arms, Janny. I got him once in junior, and then fuck, the rest of the time I couldn't get him. Like, he just would hold me out, and he was pound for pound one of the toughest guys going too. Clarky,
him and Prusty fought a lot. Like, yeah.
Yeah, he scored 30 goals, baby.
Yeah.
30 goals in Jersey. He was in a fucking great spot, man. Went to the Stanley Cup Finals. He was a big part of that. And then he signed with Toronto.
Wow.
He went back home, and yeah, you're paid. He's probably coaching his kid right now. Doesn't give a fuck. Has tons of money in the bank. Doesn't have to work if he doesn't want to. Hey, that's a great thing. But he had a really good thing going on with Pete DeBoer and the New Jersey Devils. And I get why you chase the money, you want to play at home, but sometimes grass isn't always as green as it is where you're at. I don't know if that's the saying. I might have fucked that up. But you get where my drift. He was such a good spot. Pete had him on every power plate in front of the net. He got iced time. He's moving up, down, first, second line. And then he goes to Toronto and just kind of collapsed a little bit because of the pressure and just shit just spiraled out of control.
Hey, just to name off some of these names for your first year that you were fighting here, these fuckers. Friggy, Todd Fedora, Gillies, Goddard,
Killer.
Colton Orr, who I played junior with, Thompson,
Rocky Thompson or Nate Thompson? Rocky Thompson.
No, this is B. Thompson. Providence, Brent
Thompson.
And Thompson.
McIntyre, Riley Cote, Mitch Fritz.
He was 6'8". He was a monster and springy.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Bond.
I thought
Georgie Peros. I mean, Mike Brown, downtown first round Brown. I mean, what a list of guys you had to come through in your first year. I mean, it's crazy to think these guys are fucking mutant murderers.
Yeah, murderers.
I feel like we're playing the same fucking teams over and over again.
Yeah, you guys in the East. You guys in the East. I glad I never ever had to go do that. You guys were the weather, the cities, the fucking just the barns. Hey, it was a real man's game back then. That was a real game, man.
Dude, it's just when you play, hey, listen, you can make good money in the minors, dude. If you play in minors, you can make fucking good money. Like, it's a grind, but the money's there. You guys are making fucking good money there. You compare it to any other sport in the minors, check out baseball. They're eating fucking tuna sandwiches from the goddamn gas station. You know what I mean? It's brutal. You can make damn good money in the American League. But once you go play in the NHL, baby, and you sniff that high life, and you're flying on them jets, and you're not taking those buses, and you're not soaked in salad dressing because somebody fucking spilled salad dressing over your suit. You got 7 hours ago, and guys keep coming back and taking dumps in the back of the goddamn bus, smelling the whole thing up. It is a miserable experience. And you go to Springfield, Massachusetts, there's 400 people in the stands. You just got done playing an MSG. You get sit down. Now you got to live that reality. It is a big difference, man.
Yeah.
Fucking kidding.
I would go with the turkey sandwich over the tuna from the gas station personally, but I know what you're saying, Janny. I know what you're saying, buddy.
Put your money in the old cup there at the end of the game.
Oh, the American League builds character, but everything Janny just said is bang on.
Yeah, it's bang on.
Janny, let's talk some Blues here, buddy. I could talk old school with you all day, but the St. Louis Blues got a lot of good things going on, and you cover it. You and Strick do a great job. You're in the city. You're feeling the heartbeat. 9 straight. They fucked me the other night against the Avalanche, going in there, a big win. How special is what's going on, and how far do you think this can go as this team under Monty?
The way they're playing right now, man, they're playing like a playoff team. They're playing like a playoff team. Now, they went through a couple different lulls where there was a couple games where I'm like, okay, if this is a game where they're going to slow down, this is a game where they're going to lose, maybe 4-0 and just kind of lay an egg or whatever the case is. That hasn't been the case. Now, you watch a couple of these games. We played Nashville a couple times, sloppy game. They found a way to win. You play Chicago, Patty Maroon comes in town, does his thing, sloppy game. You found a way to win. So now Colorado, now you're going to go Colorado, and you're like, this is the game, okay? Like, because listen, it's inevitable. Like, you're gonna slow down eventually, but how long are you going to slow down for? Are you going to pick it back up? But there's going to be a game where you're not going to be at your best, and it might be against a Colorado team, and they're going to embarrass you. Now, they weren't at their best against crappier teams. They found a way to win. So this last Colorado game, I'm like, okay, this is the test. This is the test. And boy, oh boy, they slowed them down. They went toe-to-toe. I mean, their defense is so solid that you can't get around them. They make nice plays. Benner and Hofer are so good with the puck behind the net. If you were watching them and isolate them, puck gets zipped around, they'll bang it like, boosh, make a play, kick it right to the middle, kick it to the side, boom, they're gone. Then they're forecheck, they go in there, and everybody hits. Bolduc, Holloway, those young kids, they'll put you on your ass. Did you see Bolduc the other day against Colorado at the end of the game? He gets in front of a guy, just all strength, slams him down in front of their bench. Bednar's going crazy. McKinnon's all pissed off at this young 22-year-old kid who's got almost 20 goals this year. I mean, they're playing hard. They're playing physical. They got the goaltending. Monty has just got these guys rocking and rolling. That 2-week break helped out a lot with guys like Broberg and Buchnevich and whatnot. I mean, Broberg was on a tear, and he gets hurt, and the 2-week break happens, and now he's back where he's holding on to the pucks, zipping around in the offensive zone and getting a shot on goal, then back checking, disrupting the play, then taking the puck all the way back. They have everything going right now. Everybody's bought in, but these aren't fluky wins. They're winning like you're playing in the playoffs, shutting everybody down, slowing down the superstars and all these teams. And I can't count them out, man. People are like, hey, 2019. I'm like, yeah, completely different teams. But I'm not counting these guys out. You don't know what Bolduc's going to be like in 3 years. He might be a really big superstar. Holloway might be a superstar. Broberg might be, somewhere where he's logging 26 minutes a night until he gets, in his 30s, that kind of guy. So these guys are on a tear, but they're doing everything right. It's fun to watch, man.
Yeah, Janny, you're bang on. I watched the Avs game, and the Blues played a hell of a road game, and they slowed him down. And then late in the game, Benner made some big saves that Benner had to make. And you talk about his ability to play the puck. I didn't know how good it was till the Four Nations, but Do you think Binner's come back from the Four Nations with that 2019 swag you're talking about? Because when I watch him play right now, he looks like the Binner that, obviously had a big Four Nations win, but looks like the Stanley Cup champ in there. He's big. He's making shoulder saves. He's challenging. He's playing the puck. Like, he's got that swag back, in my opinion. What do you see?
Well, hell yeah, he's got the swag back. He's Mr. Canada. You kidding? I mean, watching him, man, I'm USA through and through, baby. And I'm watching him at the end of that game. Austin Matthews, point blank opportunities. I'm like, oh my God, now I know what it feels like to be on the other side of things, watching him shut you down. So imagine you're this team, the St. Louis Blues, and you got this goaltender, whether you're Canadian or not, most of the players are Canadian anyway, and you're watching Jordan Binnington and Colton Brayko dominate. Colton Brayko had a great tournament as well. And you're like, we have this goalie. This is our goalie. Like, let's rally around him and fucking do everything right and slow teams down. We got the goalie. Like, if I'm a player on that team and I watch Benner do that, I'm like, hell yeah. I'm pumping. I mean, that pumps you up. It gets you excited. He walks back in that locker room high-fiving everybody. Like, yeah, man. I mean, of course, he walks around Canada right now. Like, people just love him. He walks on water in St. Louis as it is and always will. He's going to have his jersey in the rafters and all that stuff, man, because he's deserved it. But God almighty, imagine your goalie just goes out there and just stands on his head, shuts everybody down, and now he comes back to your team. You want to rally around the guy.
Dylan Hallside, $2.29 million. He's got 62 points. Are you kidding me? Like, what? There's so many success stories to look at St. Louis this year with, I like to go back to Steiner getting this appointed, new GM job and coming in and being a young voice for the management group or whatever. But Army's done an incredible job. Doug Armstrong, what he creates, the moves he makes. Ryan Miller, who goes unnoticed. He's behind maybe that play to get the two boys, Broberg and Holloway. He's their cap GM. But unbelievable stories. But is there a better defense core in the NHL? Las Vegas, great. Big, 6 guys that could play. They won. But you now look, and Obi, you mentioned this earlier, but Ryan Suter, a guy later in his years, fucking what a pickup. You get Cam Fowler coming in. I mean, what in addition to a group of guys, and then Parayko, the year he's having, is there a bigger, more badass defenseman that can shoot the puck in the NHL than Colton Parayko that you want on your team? There's so many great stories. So you expect these guys to go in and make a splash.
Yeah, well, Arby did a good job with the Cam Fowler thing. Listen, we already know about the offer sheets. That was a big deal. You took advantage of the situation, man. Sometimes you got to take advantage of the moment, and he did. The Edmonton was a little bit of a jam. You kind of throw some feelers out there. It worked out. Wow, great. Then you go get Cam Fowler. Now, Cam Fowler, if he was at the deadline, it would have been what they paid for him and what they would have got if he was closer to the deadline. Somebody would have grabbed a Cam Fowler in 2 seconds, and they picked him up months ago. And I'm thinking, oh, Cam Fowler. And don't get me wrong. People in St. Louis are like, okay, Cam Fowler. I know that name. He's hidden in Anaheim. They haven't been relevant in a while. Anaheim hasn't been very good. So everybody's like, oh, Cam Fowler, don't know enough about him. Okay, let me look at his stats. And they crunch the numbers. They're like, this guy's going to be terrible. Look at his zone entries and da-da-da-da. And I get all analytics, man. Listen, you crunch the numbers. They don't lie. I get all that. But people are like, this guy's going to suck. Then he comes here, and he's our number one fucking defenseman, and he's logging important and most important minutes. He's storing. He's getting assists. He dominates. What the fuck? He just came in. I remember I was on the road with our number one. He got it. He's comes in. He's huge, by the way. See the old legs on him. And he comes in and just fucking settles everybody down, doesn't make mistakes, and now he puts up points. So sometimes you look at those analytics and you're like, no, maybe it was the team he was on. There's a lot more that goes into it. And now he comes here and there's a lot more discipline and tidy on D, and look at him go. Number one defenseman.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he's been unbelievable. What a move. But I was just to go off that, you kind of talked about it in the style they play. They're just a heavy, heavy team. They play the right way. And this is why I think Braden Shen's so important to their team. And I played with him very early in his career and love this kid. Played with his brother. Was it actually, were they really thinking of trading him? I'm just wondering about this because I think he really sets the tone of how you want to play as a team. I just love this kid. Maybe just touch about him.
Yeah, I think they were looking to trade anybody. I think Army was like, okay, I mean, here's what are you guys going to show me? Army doesn't make moves. The players make the moves.
Yeah.
Army goes on and makes decisions on what the players do. And the players are like, no, we're okay. We're gonna figure this out. We needed that break. And the Army's like, we're gonna see what you're gonna do in the next however many weeks it was. And the Blues proved them right. Like, hey, no, I don't want you to do anything. Now I'm sure just because you don't trade a guy, I mean, it doesn't mean that he didn't try to. And at the end, that's why you have those kind of contracts when you earn them, where he's probably like, no, I don't want to go anywhere. And thank God that didn't happen, because Braden Shin, man, like, God, he still could skate, by the way, and he's scoring goals. He solidifies that second line with two young kids, and all of a sudden, maybe it's something boring going on in the game. The game's just like no energy. You're at home. Braden Shin will literally crush somebody, put him through the boards, and you're like, whoa. Then the crowd gets going. Then he makes a play. Then he blocks a shot. Then he scores an important goal. And then he fights a guy, which, I don't like when he fights as much. I don't want him getting hurt.
Yeah.
The other day, he fights Trouba. Trouba tries to kill
Kyrou.
Yeah. Oh, my God. Leaned into him like, what? I mean, she spun off. Like, you hit him in the back instead of the head. Thank God. And then Braden Shin gets up and fights him. And I'm like, I just don't like when he fights, because I don't want him getting hurt, dude. I just don't. He puts his ass on the line every single game. And if you're missing your leader like that, I just don't want him getting hurt. But he's so ballsy, and I appreciate it. But Trouba, he fights Trouba and falls, and he stays down for a while. Yeah. Then they show the camera, and it pans up to his wife and stuff, and they're like, oh shit. Oh, and everybody's like, oh, no. Then he pops up, and he goes to the dressing room, and he's okay. And it's just like, he just puts his ass on the line every single shift. And it worries you a little bit because you just don't want him getting hurt. But he's just a warrior, and he's an awesome guy. And his brother's awesome, too. I'm just glad he's still here.
Yeah, me too. And Uppy knows Army, obviously played for him, and he talked about Army since we started this podcast. This year, what Army's done is really opened my eyes to there's levels of GMs in the NHL, right? And you could put Army at the fucking top of it with the Cam Fowler trade, with the sneaky Ryan Suter 1-year deal. The offer sheets speak for himself. But for me, I would never trade Braden Shen. He's one of those guys I would never trade. I'm glad Army didn't either. But there's two kids that we've been hard on, Janny, since we started Missin Curfew, and it's Bobby Thomas and Kyrou. More Kyrou than Thomas. But these two guys have kind of came into their zone. They're the leaders now. They're playing a little bit harder, in my opinion. Have you seen that growth to now they're turning into veteran guys because they're leading the charge for the hockey club?
Okay. Robert Thomas was the other night when he played, and I was doing the radio, and you just isolate. When you do radio and stuff, man, you guys know, like, you really see everything. Like, you really watch every little detail of what they're doing. Robert Thomas was the best player on the ice by a mile, and he could have had 8 points in that game. Jordan Kyrou is going to give you 30 goals. But now look at his plus minus. He doesn't turn pucks over in a neutral zone. Last year, a couple times where he does a little backhand softs to nobody. You know how that is. Or it's a 1-on-3, and maybe he tries to get cute instead of dumping the puck in at the end of the shift. Doesn't do that anymore. He's just changed, man. Maybe he's not going to get as many points, but the little stuff he does defensively, it's so noticeable. It's so noticeable for Jordan Kyrou. He's still getting his cookies, man. He's still, once he gets a puck, he takes 3 steps. You'll blow your doors off. One of the fastest guys in the league, first 3 step-wise. He's got an incredible shot, can score from anywhere, and now he's playing defensive-minded. And it's such a difference. And you look at these guys, and people are like, oh, it's so much money, $64 million. Now you look at it like, damn.
Yeah,
it's a great deal.
You got these guys locked up for a long time, man. That $8 million doesn't look that big once the salary cap goes up in a couple of years. That looks like a pretty damn good deal. And I don't know where the ceiling is for both of them. Could Robert Thomas get 80 points, Nate? I think so. He looks pretty damn good. I know he got banged up earlier, and they're getting older, man. They've been through a lot of ups and downs. Jordan Kyrou has certainly been through some ups and downs in St. Louis. He got booed one night.
Yeah.
Kind of broke down, rightfully so. I would have broke down too if you booed me like that. You're damn right. I'm a tough guy, but I can only handle so much shit, man. I'm sensitive too. And all of a sudden he comes back out and scores a hat trick and just kind of never look back. But those guys are on the same page. They're doing things right. And listen, you got to give Jim Montgomery credit too.
Fuck yeah.
I haven't really said too much about him. He's got these guys going, dude. And you go to some of these practices, not the practices like at home, pregame skate, but like we're in Minnesota on the road. We go practice at that practice rink in the middle of nowhere, whatever it is. And you sit down and you really listen to him talk to everybody. You listen to him explain things to the D, to the goaltenders, to the forwards, and you just see how he runs everything. And you can hear everything because it's a small little rink. And as a player, I'm thinking, I get exactly what he's saying. I know exactly what he's saying there. I can understand exactly what he's saying there. And as a player, I'm like, yeah, man, he's saying the right thing. I get it. It would pump me up. It would get me motivated. So little things like that, it's a big reason why a lot of people are on the same page. It's because Jim Montgomery and the rest of the coaching staff too.
Yeah, it's well said. I wish I had a chance to play for Jim Montgomery. He's an American.
He said you should have made that team in Dallas there.
Should've made that
All-Star game. He said, yeah, up here you should have made that squad, but fucking Jim Neal had other plans. Hey, fucking see you later up, dog. We've all been there.
Hey, but just it goes back to the whole, just a good story behind St. Louis this year for sure. And one more story that we're going to partake in this weekend is our boy Kelly Chase is in another battle, a hard one right now, but the second annual Puck Cancer, April 4th in St. Louis. Last year, I think we raised $600,000 to the Siteman Cancer Clinic. We know Chaser's fucking in a battle for his life, but we're excited to get in there. I'm excited to be part of this with you again and all the guys showing up, but maybe just touch on the event that we're going to be part of this weekend.
Well, we got the Blues Fantasy Camp and the Puck Cancer this Friday. And we're just if you look at the lineup, you can go on stlouisblues.com and they'll show you the lineup with just a bunch of awesome players, great Hall of Famers, guys that could still skate. And then you got all these Blackhawks alumni with Chris Chelios and just a bunch of shit kickers too. Stu Grimson, Jim McKenzie, Matthew Barnaby, which I'm telling everybody, I'm going him first shift. I think he knows people paying damn good money. We're raising money for a damn good cause. St. Louis has great hospitals here. Siteman's is certainly one of them. So I feel like we got to bring the heat and put on a show for the crowd. And I'm going to go Matthew Barnaby, I think, first shift. But it's going to be a blast. And we're going to party afterwards like everybody does, man. We'll stay out Friday night. We're going to get after it, entertain everybody. And we're going to raise a ton of money, too. And I think they're on, the trajectory for the money raised right now, I think they're trying to get to $1 million. And I think they're doing a pretty good job with that. So imagine that, $1 million.
Yeah.
For totally research from a bunch of hockey guys getting together and having fun and shooting his shit. But Kelly Chase is going through a really, really difficult time now. This is his second time going through this.
Yeah.
And he thought it was all clear. He grew that beautiful Lions, hair back. He's got that thick hair. And all of a sudden, he's got to go through it again. Now, he's not the only one, too, man. There's a couple guys, a Blues alumni, like Darren Kimball's going through a tough time, too. Hopefully, he's able to come out and make it. I know he had to isolate himself, so there's some guys that you know about, but there's a lot of people that are going through this that no one talks about and that no one knows about. And you just got to think of them too. And, I'm sure, Chase is up there. And, when you kind of go through that, man, I feel like you feel sorry for yourself. And then sometimes you look down the hall and you see a little kid going through the same damn thing.
Yeah.
And I've heard stories of Chaser. He owns that whole hall and he goes and he surprises kids. There's a young girl that had cancer and she's down and out. A huge hockey fan. Chaser just goes, surprises her with whatever it is. He found something, somebody got her and just made her smile. Probably for the first time in God knows how long. But you're going through that shit as a young kid. My God. So even having Chaser in that hospital, walking around, although he's going through hell himself, but just to go talk to all these other people that are going through the same thing probably helps out more than anything. But we're raising money. We're going to have a damn good time. We know how to entertain everybody. Trust me on that. So come check it out this Friday. And I think me and Uppy are going to be on the same line, baby.
Yeah,
I'm goal scorer now, just so you know.
Poor Barnaby. I hope he knows what he's getting himself into. If Barnes sees this, he might
bad for him because I've been saying this to everybody.
He might pull the shoot. We won't put this out before puck drop because he might not show up. I know I'd be changing my ticket. I'd be like, fuck, boys, I'm just going to donate. Tell Janny, he spooked me right out of town. But in all seriousness, Janny, like, I've got to know Chaser a little bit since I retired. And, the thing, you guys have a great alumni in St. Louis. Everyone loves playing there. Everyone loves going back there. It's one of the best alumni in the league. But, like, how much Kelly Chase means to St. Louis, how the people there love him. And, like, it's just to see the whole city rally around him. It's, like, such a special man, right? And how much St. Louis loves him and how much he loves St. Louis.
Well, he's done so much, man. Like, he's done so much for this town since he's been here in the late 80s. Like, he really has, from the Gateway locomotives. I mean, he's had his hands in everything. He's involved in, raising money over here, starting new things here, building this over there, doing that, doing that. I mean, I don't even know how the hell he does it. Don't know how he does it, but he's a king around here. He really is, man. He's had his hands on a lot of positive things in this town, and he's got a heart of a lion, and everybody knows that. You know what he did on the ice? He's the same kind of guy off the ice. I've known Chaser since I was a kid. Since I was a kid playing juniors, man. Him and Bobby Plager would come talk to me. And so, like, it started at a young age, my friendship with him. And, you got Twister involved, and what those two have done. That's how I got into hockey. Those two guys fighting guys. I'm like, holy shit, I want to be you. Then Chaser does radio, and I'm doing radio now. I'm like kind of like morphing into what I will never be able to fill his shoes, but I'm trying as hard as I can. But he does so much with his town, and I just hope, I hope we raise a lot of money, which we will. And I just hope this ends for him, and hopefully they just keep progressing on cancer research so we can help out a lot more people that are going through hell right now.
Yeah, that's well said. And Chaser, we love you here at Mr. Curfew. And Janny, you're killing it, buddy. You do great things with your pod and with the Blues. Keep it up. You're great for the game, buddy. And thank you for taking the time and joining here on Mr. Curfew. We always wanted to get you, buddy. You're an absolute beauty.
Hey, appreciate it, guys. I love you guys, man. Uppy, be ready. Let's go, Philly.
Come on, baby.
Good night's sleep now.
Well, he doesn't. Hey, Janny, he doesn't sleep. If you're looking for him to sleep, you got the wrong guy in your fucking line, bud. But he'll be buzzing.
I'm gonna have another beer right now. Just hydrate.